the appeal to emotion as a way to buy things as opposed to appeal to some sort of rational calculus about the good itself. And let me find my quotes. So, Springfield, Illinois in 1908, August of 1908, a bloody race riot struck Springfield. I'm going to read a few highlighted things from an article that was published about the Springfield race riot. This is an article from, the Journal of Negro History, July 1960. Feeling against the Negro ran high in Illinois because of the huge Negro influx to urban centers such as Chicago, Peoria, East St. Louis, and Springfield. So this is before 1908, so around the turn of the century. This threatened the jobs of the whites as well as their superiority at the ballot box. Many Illinois towns prohibited Negroes from settling within their city limits, and very few Illinois juries would convict a white of killing a Negro. And then it goes into the details about this particular riot that takes place in 1908 in Springfield, Illinois. Several attacks were made on the Negro residential area about 8 o'clock with Negroes seeking refuge in the streetcars, but as crowds clogged the streets, the streetcar service had to be abandoned, and terrified blacks were dragged from the cars by frenzied whites. The most concerted attack on the Negro residential district was at about 11 o'clock at night after Lopers, which is referred to earlier, had been wrecked, and the rioters had left the jail. Property destruction at more than 150,000, and so on. The second victim was an 84-year-old man who was a cobbler, did shoes, whose good reputation was marred in the eyes of the rioters by the fact he had been married to a white woman for over 30 years, and therefore he was lynched. So he was dragged through the streets and hung from a tree. So that's Springfield in 1908. We've got Missouri and Texas. We've got Philadelphia, early 1917. There was a strike at the sugar refinery. They hired black workers to break the strike, and there was violence in which people were killed and many wounded against the strike breakers, the black strike breakers. East St. Louis, Illinois in July 1917. Chester, Pennsylvania, 1917. And then the worst of the riots was in Tulsa in 1921. So this is the Ku Klux Klan, and a little description about the Klan. The Klan, this picture is from Denver, actually in the 1920s, but the Klan's goal in life was to introduce fear into people's lives. But let me talk about Tulsa. There we go. So the Tulsa race riot. May of 1921, and a 19-year-old kid, Dick Rowland, was delivering a package to the Drexel building in downtown Tulsa. He got onto the elevator, and there was a white elevator operator. So in those days, you didn't have push buttons that you used yourself. There was an elevator operator. She was white. She was young divorcee. He accidentally touched her. She screamed, and from there, things escalated. And so he was arrested for attacking her. He was taken to the jail. There was a mob that gathered outside the jail. By that evening, the white crowd had evolved into a mob of 2,000 people. If I call in the National Guard, the mob gets larger and larger. The fury of the mob was evident by numerous heinous outrages. I don't want to read you down. That's too bad. I can't. By 8 o'clock the next morning, 15 to 20,000 white rioters, all from this one incident in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And at the end of it, by the time it's over, between 30 and 40 blocks of homes had been burned. 1,100 residences had been destroyed. The entire black business section of town had been obliterated. The number of people killed, I lost that number, I think it's around 40 people were killed in Tulsa. And it wiped out the whole city, the whole black part of the city, the black neighborhood of the city. So that's the environment in which I studied and looked at the difference between blacks and whites in the use of credit. So in that environment, I have to tell you, the first thing that when I started that work, the first thing I found, which was that the black families and the white families were using installment credit to about the same degree. That piece alone stunned me, because given the racial environment of the time, my priors going in, my hunch before I did any of the work, is that the black families would not be able to get any sort of credit. So today's Tuesday. On Thursday, we'll start by looking at my article, and then we're going to dive into the 20s and the 30s. It says on Thursday we're watching a film. I booted the film so that Professor Such could finish up talking about Exclusion Act. See y'all Thursday.